We see it all around us more and more every day. People with power punching down. But the Avengers weren't like that. I believed it in my core. I keep thinking, this has to have happened for a reason. Maybe this is what I've been waiting for. Maybe I'm finally part of something bigger.
It's 2020 and we're in a pandemic, and the world is Marvel crazed. Yet the world is a standstill and we want more of our fantastic heroes. We want more avenging. From the teaser that was released years before to a reality soon to come true, we finally have a Marvel's Avengers game. But really, what are they avenging? Certainly not your wallet, because it feels like a generic game that somebody made in their free time to put out on Steam to suckers who would, fall into the $60 and say, hey, you know what, it's worth it. Luckily, it's on Game Pass, so I don't mind giving it a try. First off, I want to talk about story. The game starts out introducing a new character most normies don't know, Kamala Khan, an Avengers mega fan. She and many others are going to an A-Day event to show off their new Avengers ship, and also showcase their new source of energy, Terrigen. Kamala is there because she entered a contest for a fanfic, and somehow Kamala meets every single Avenger, and they are all aware of her story. But let's be honest, in reality, that's far-fetched. But I digress. The event is cut short when there is an attack on the Brooklyn Bridge, and that's where the game showcases each hero and how to play them. If you've seen any trailers or tried the beta, then you know how the ship blows up, Cap dies. Fast forward some time, and the Avengers are now a thing of the past. Everyone except for Captain America is hated and seen as a terrorist. But honestly, it's stupid because what were they supposed to do? Let the terrorists kill more people? Whatever. Kamala Khan has powers that she got from the ship blowing up, and she's now an Inhuman. And she plans to regroup the Avengers because she found a video of AIM's CEO killing Cap. She finds the Hulk, and he's just honestly so weak. This guy acts like he's gone through one major breakup, and now he thinks the whole world has gone bad. Come on, grow up. They then seek the help of Tony Stark, and he is understandably pissed with Bruce because Bruce kind of gave a testimony that kind of shit the bed. Literally, the reason the group fell apart is because of his testimony. They then get an old ship running, and then they find Thor, who is just out trying to live a normal life, and they disrupt that. We then find out that the CEO of AIM is now becoming the unknown MODOK, a character that is always, in my opinion, being kind of seen as a joke character. Anyways, he's kind of a simp that's been getting injected with grape Kool-Aid, and that makes his head the size of most woke land whales. Anyways, I digress. We finally meet Black Widow, and she's kind of just shoved into the story when Kamala Khan gets captured because she thinks that she can go and fight entire AIM facility. And spoilers, but it's unsuccessful. They then capture Monica, which is the one that MODOK was simping for, and also Bruce was kind of simping for her. But anyways, Bruce is interrogating her. Somehow Kamala finds Cap because some shit Monica said about the Earth. And then they find Cap in space. The team then goes to fight MODOK and almost loses because MODOK goes into a celestial body. And then Kamala basically Super Saiyans and pulls an Ant-Man and grows and fights. And then after the fight, she passes out and the game ends. The story feels rushed and it definitely took the back seat. But honestly, the story should have been the focal point. Due to them using the most iconic group of individuals, yet we got a glorified tutorial on how to grind and how the rest of the game will work out. Next, I want to talk about she becomes the focal point of the game because she's talking about the worst character. She became the focal point of the Avengers. Kamala is the definition of cringe. She becomes the focal point of an Avengers game when she's a C-tier character. I personally felt that they could have done way more without her and her little quips that were so forced. Maybe that's what annoyed me the most about her as a main character. Also, why make her the reason the Avengers assemble? The Avengers come together like they normally would, and then she comes in to try to help. She was just a forced character, and I didn't feel like she was really that likable. As the rest of the Avengers, Iron Man was personally my favorite. He had the best personality with his snarky ways and pushed Bruce every chance he could. And he felt the most realistic about the situation. He was like a seasoned veteran. As for Bruce, the Hulk, he was portrayed as a feeble guy with the socially awkward tendencies, and that felt nothing like the Bruce we're used to. Like they turned up the dweeb in his character arc to make him just more pathetic. Thor, and when he comes into the picture, you learn that he's an OP like tank, but only if he's used right, and he's not really memorable. Black Widow was highly underused, and she was brought into the game nearly like 2/3 of the way in, and I felt like I never used her because she was so underleveled. At this point, you should be like level 40 to complete the game, and you start out at level 1 with her. As for Captain America, he was extremely underused, coming in at the very end, and I felt like he was the most fun to play as, but as a whole team, I felt the dynamic of the interactions was great. I loved seeing them talk to each other. However, I didn't want to be in the room alone with any of them just because they were so dry. They needed each other to bounce off each other. As for the gameplay, the game was a lot of fun. The hectic gameplay makes the game feel unique and refreshing. At first, that is. Very quickly, you realize the game is a busy work-style game. The game doesn't offer a lot of new and exciting gameplay mechanics after the first 2 hours. After playing some missions only lasting like 10 minutes, you leave feeling empty and like you wasted a bunch of time. Others have exciting boss battles, and that made me wish the game had more of that to offer because they were exciting and fun. Most characters play similar. The major unique ones like Iron Man, Hulk, and Black Panther felt fun but slower than their MCU counterparts. Hulk feeling as if he was being held back by a leash, and Iron Man feeling like he flies through a school zone, and Black Panther feeling like he barely runs faster than your average high schooler. I felt that the characters were dealt a bad hand because they all felt like they started with the simple cookie cutter mechanic and they just put a new skin over them and labeled them Captain America when in reality Black Panther was the same person. Or even Hawkeye and Black Widow. They're basically the same people. The game feels lazy, like they don't know where they want it to go, and the gameplay will keep the people who like meaningless tasks or repetition, or kids age 8 to 15. Anyone else will regret the investment after the first few hours. This game really is a looter without the looting being fun, or useful, or even necessary. You spend hours hunting shit and barely change anything in the mechanics department, and it definitely could have been cut. You spend hours hunting shit that barely changes anything. This mechanic definitely could have been cut, and it wouldn't have affected a single gameplay change, just saving the player from running meaningless tasks, empty sections of running from one loot box to the next. The multiplayer this game offers can feel cinematic, especially if you have a good team setup and you're with friends. That's if you can convince friends to give this a shot. If you can't find people to play this game, it quickly becomes a chore and a chase to grab loot that randoms find, but honestly, the multiplayer feels confusing because most of the stuff you should be able to do feels like a task to find. Like outfits are impossible to find, and all the loot that you collect feels like it's just there to say it's a looter. And to be honest, to me, that's sloppy as hell. But just like the game, that's as deep as I can go with the multiplayer. The setup is what got this game off the ground. This game had a lot riding on it, from the MCU to a teaser that got fans expecting a game that offered an adventure to rival the whole MCU. The trailer coming out 4 years ago, shortly after the release of Sony's exclusive Spider-Man, the hype was at an all-time high. The community was ready for an adventure of the generation. The game had all the help it could possibly want. All they had to do was not screw up the execution, and they'd be writing a franchise for years to come. Especially with the recent Marvel movies feeling lackluster and people like me wanting a true Avengers adaptation with stories that they never experienced, with characters they knew and loved, that's when the game, in my opinion, failed. They missed the opportunity that many devs would hope for. Honestly, in conclusion, Avengers is a looter shooter with a coat of Avengers, and then they cashed out on the community, hoping because of the name, we'd just let it slide. But due to the vocal backlash of the community tore this game a new one. This game would have highly benefited from a story-focused approach, because that's what Square Enix does best. They proved that they can make a Marvel game when they came out with Guardians of the Galaxy, which in turn felt like dirt in the eyes to fans like me. Looter games have a place and a genre that work, and this showed us that not every game works that way. I look forward to seeing all the hero games that come out in the future, and I know this is going to be a stain on the record for years to come. I suggest if you like looters and find this on Deep Sale or Game Pass to give it a try, but if you're on the fence and just like the brand, then it won't scratch the itch that the MCU left. I personally give this game a 3 out of 10 for gameplay, a 6 out of 10 for story, and a 5 out of 10 for multiplayer. Honestly, invest your money in a joke stock before you consider wasting it on this hot mess that needs a fat reimagining like Anthem. Anyways, if you liked my review over Marvel's Avengers, maybe leave a like, leave a comment. If you really did like it, I want to hear what you liked about the game. And if you didn't like it, tell me what you didn't like about it. But anyways, leave a like, subscribe, comment, and anyways, peace, love, homies.
Excellent work. Extracting the launch codes now. Time for an elevator ride? Not quite.